In the shadows of medieval Wallachia, a ruthless prince sharpened stakes not just for enemies, but for the supernatural overlords he suspected lurked beneath his throne. This was Vlad III Dracula, better known as Vlad the Impaler, and he was determined to prove that legends weren't just bedtime stories. Our story begins with Vlad as a mortal warlord. Imagine a man who isn't satisfied with ruling by fear alone. He wants to expose the night creatures who think they own him. While other nobles wrung their hands over harvests, Vlad hunted vampires. He captured Simis minions, drank their blood, and showed that a mortal with enough ambition could turn the tables on the undead. Even imprisonment by King Matthias of Hungary couldn't dampen his ambitions. If anything, it gave the vampires time to argue over whether to embrace him or simply kill him. Count Vladimir Rustovich chose the former, binding Vlad as a ghoul. But what no one expected was that Vlad was curiously immune to the blood oath. Freed from the leash that keeps ghouls loyal, he continued drinking captured vitae, expanding his knowledge of Cainite society and waiting for his chance to take the final step. That first opportunity came in the most grotesque cathedral imaginable, a living fortress of flesh ruled by the Tsimisi voivode, Yorak. Vlad sought Yorak's approval for embrace, but the cathedral sensed destiny stirring. As Yorak sank his fangs into Vlad, the cathedral rebelled against its master and devoured him whole. Vlad escaped alive and unembraced with an even sharper edge. He would control his own fate or die trying. In 1495, he seized his chance. He learned of a Sabbat assault on his castle, tipped off the Camarilla Justicars, and let them clash. Then, like any master tactician, he charged in with his own forces at the perfect moment. The Camarilla crumbled under his surprise attack, and Vlad captured the Sabbat leaders Lambak, Ruthven, and Tabak. Giving Lambak a choice, embrace him or die, he secured his vampiric immortality. Then, as casually as knocking back a drink, he diablerized Tabak, dropping from the 6th generation to the 5th in one ferocious gulp. After his embrace, Dracula retreated to Burkow Castle and promptly bullied the Tsimisi anarchs into submission, leading nightly crusades and crowning himself the first voivode of the Transylvanian Sabbat. He mastered Koldunic sorcery and thaumaturgy, turning dark rituals into parlor tricks. Playing the Sabbat and Camarilla against each other became his favorite sport. Even the Masquerade meant little to him. He whispered his story to Bram Stoker, turning his unlife into the world's most famous vampire novel. Who needs a press agent when you are Dracula? And then there's his sword, forged by his father with help from the Ravnos oracle Durgasin, and inscribed with Koldunic symbols. The sword of Dracula was meant to kill demons. It drinks blood as easily as its master, storing vitae and even absorbing a fragment of a slain creature's essence. Dracula displayed it as a trophy until the Tremere stole it and booby-trapped it, forcing him to hunt it down. It turns out even a centuries-old vampire can lose his keys. Ever the scholar of forbidden lore, Dracula once misread a demonic text and tried to free Kupala, the Carpathian demon whose advice had elevated the Tzimise to greatness. He planned rituals to sever the geomantic web binding Kupala, even destroying a symbol carved into his own castle. The Inquisition interrupted him, perhaps saving the world. Yet he still holds the sword and the rituals, hinting that he isn't done meddling with primal forces. Within the broader metaplot, Dracula is a cipher. Some say he is the dragon, prophesied to return at the end of nights. Others whisper that Lambok manipulated him from the start, or that the Tsimisi antediluvian uses him as a pawn. In his own telling, his sire is trapped in Poenari Castle, while Lambok strolls New York. Dracula enjoys keeping everyone guessing. Appearance and demeanor. Picture an aristocrat with long hair and a mustache, dressed to kill, literally. He can morph into bats, wolves, old men, or women, his face unreadable until it's contorted with lethal fury. He misses the Middle Ages the way some people miss their favorite band. Where does Dracula go from here? He has broken free from blood bonds, devoured his enemies, and even turned his legend into fiction. He is a mastermind, a sorcerer, a sword collector, and possibly an end-times prophet. Whenever Dracula steps back into the world of darkness, every vampire looks over their shoulder. Today, in the Knights of 5th edition, the end of the world looks different. Gehenna is no longer a single cataclysm, but a war. Elders are drawn by a supernatural beckoning to the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Sabbat packs race across deserts and ruins, convinced they are slaying antediluvians. Dracula hasn't been seen at the front lines. Some say he stepped back into the shadows, watching as younger Kindred wage his war for him. Others whisper that his bloodline persists. There's even a Tzimiche lore sheet called Descendant of Dracula that grants characters a taste of his legacy. In a world where myths come alive and prophecies bleed into battle, the Son of the Dragon may yet decide whether the Gehenna War ends in apocalypse or ascension.